HarperCollins presents A Daughter's Ruin by Kitty Neale. Read by Annie Aldington. Chapter 1. London, Clapham, July 1964. "Constance, how dare you come down to dinner with bare legs?" Henrietta Burton Blake chastised her 17-year-old daughter on Friday evening. "Oh, Mother, surely with just the three of us there's no need for formality." "I don't care if there are 3 or 30 for dinner. Standards must be kept." Constance could hear the slight slur in her mother's voice, and guessed she'd been drinking. It was the only clue. She was sitting rigidly upright, wearing a dated brown silk dress and her usual pearls. Her grey, tightly permed hair was immaculately groomed, but with grey eyes too, she looked colourless. It felt warm and stuffy in the dining room, but her mother appeared cool and composed, whereas Constance felt a trickle of perspiration running down her neck. "Mummy, it's too hot for stockings." "Please don't argue with me. Now go back upstairs and dress properly for dinner." Constance sighed heavily, but did as she was told and reluctantly returned to her bedroom. Her room was on the 3rd floor of their imposing 4-storey house, and her window overlooked Clapham Common. It was almost 8 o'clock in the evening, but still light, as Constance looked briefly out of her window. She saw families with children and dog walkers enjoying the lovely summer evening. She longed to be out there too, but instead would have to sit in with her parents. She knew she'd be bored, her evening spent watching her mother getting steadily more inebriated, and her father showing increasing disapproval until he'd leave to go to his club. After rummaging in the top drawer of her dresser, and refusing to even contemplate wearing a suspender belt, Constance found her stockings and peeled them up her legs, fastening them just above her knees in a twisted, untidy knot that would be covered by her calf-length plain blue dress. With only her parents to see her, she didn't care if the stockings wrinkled, and once summer was over she hoped to be allowed to wear tights. They were the in thing now, not silly stockings with girdles or suspender belts. She knew her mother still wore a boned corset, no doubt accounting for her rod-like stance. But if she was stick-thin, Constance thought it ridiculous and unnecessary. With the way she dressed and her overbearing manner, it felt to Constance as though her mother was still living in the 1940s instead of the 60s. The girls at college wore modern column dresses that fell just above the knee, or capri pants, but Constance knew her mother would never allow her to wear them. There was one concession to modern living, a television, but it was only allowed on after dinner and for about an hour before they retired for the night. "At last," Henrietta snapped, when Constance appeared in the dining room. "Mary, you may serve us now." "Yes, madam," answered Mary Flinch, a 15-year-old girl with frizzy hair who had come to them from a nearby children's home. She slept in one of the rooms in the eaves on the top floor and was very subservient. But strangely enough, Constance had found, Mary seemed happy to be working for them. They also had a cook, Albie Jones, who had a small flat next to the kitchen in the basement. Ethel had worked for the Burton Blakes for many, many years, along with her husband, who had been their gardener and handyman until his premature death 6 years earlier. Constance was unsure of Ethel's age, but guessed she must be around 60. Short and tubby, with salt and pepper hair, rosy cheeks and a ready smile, Ethel radiated warmth, a stark contrast to Constance's mother's coldness. Constance twisted a strand of hair around her forefinger as she thought back to her childhood. She'd always felt unwanted, or in the way, and had often fled her mother's bad moods by sneaking down to the basement to find comfort in Ethel. The woman would make a fuss of her, offering cuddles and giving her the affection she craved. "How many times have I told you to stop habitually doing that to your hair?" her mother barked, snapping Constance from her thoughts. "Sorry, Mother," she replied dutifully, and sighed heavily as Mary placed a bowl of soup in front of her. Though no longer a child, Constance still loved to escape to the basement. Without the confidence of other
Sample complete. Ready to continue?